We've been drug into this for one reason, and it's all legal, buying time, trying to make excuses. I knew when I walked into Anthony's house, number one, the worst phone call I ever got in my entire life from a family on a missing person case was from Cindy Anthony. When I walked in that house, I met Cindy. I met Casey. Casey came up and hugged me, said, "Thanks for being here. I need your help. My daughter's alive out there. Please find her." Cindy got a phone call. Casey went to her room. And then one of George's very best friends, which is a homicide detective out of Ohio, was down there to support George, and George wasn't home. And I said, "How's George doing?" He said, "Well, not well." He said he knows the answers in that bedroom, and the girl won't talk. That was within the first 10 minutes. This family knew that Casey had something to do with Kaylee's disappearance and murder, and started trying to cover up in the very, very beginning. We've spent $108,000 on this search. I'm one of the only people the defense has not called in for a deposition. Kaylee's body was there from the time that Casey put that body there, which is probably 7 or 8 days after she disappeared, and why wasn't reported until 30 days later that she disappeared. I don't know what the defense is playing at this point in time, except this is probably going to end up being one of the largest murder cases since O.J. Simpson. But I think the evidence is going to come out. This is going to be a forensic evidence trial. No matter what in the world the defense tries to do, it's going to come down to a forensic evidence trial, and these people are just wasting everybody's time, our money, our time when we got other cases to do, and all the taxpayers in the state of Florida on a girl that has murdered her daughter. And that's what it's going to come down to. Again, it gets aggravating for me every single time I get a phone call. Thank God that, and you know what, it's amazing, is that Martin James, which was George and Cindy's attorney in the beginning, he was their attorney for 5 or 6 weeks and says, "You know what, I don't want anything to do with this family anymore." Martin James is our attorney now. Brad Conway, in a wheelchair, has done the very best job that he could do with this family for the last year and a half. And finally, Brad Conway said, "You know what, I have washed my hands with this family. This family has done nothing but lie from the very, very beginning. For what reasons? I don't know. They know that their daughter murdered the granddaughter. I don't know what they're trying to cover up. I don't know what they're trying to prove from this. But I know it's taken a lot of energy and emotions and money from everybody that's been involved." One of the things I said to Leonard Padilla, to Martin James, and to John Ellen, the main detective on this case, when I first got there after I left Anthony's house, I said, "It looks like everybody involved with this case is going to be body slammed." And that is exactly what's happened from the time that Kaylee was reported missing till now. I know this much. We got a trial next May. I'm going to have to testify in that murder trial. And I cannot wait till this is one of them cases that is finally over with.
Now, the parent's lawyer said that he saw some documents that conflict with what the defense is alleging, and he said some of them had to do with Texas Equisearch.
Do you know what? You know what they want? We had 32 people in the general area where Kaylee's body was found. I made the wisest decisions any search director could ever make on the Kaylee Anthony search. When we was there the first time, the water was high. See, Kaylee disappeared. 5 days after she disappeared, a tropical storm came in. The water was high. We searched for 6 days, and I called the search off. Well, I told detectives, I said, "You know what? It's in everybody's best interest right now if we suspend this search." I said, because you know what? If that little body is underneath the water and we have a horse step on it, a four-wheeler drive over it, or even a person step on it, they're not going to know what it is under the water. I said, let's suspend the search. We went back in November Conditions were better, but not nearly what we wanted them to be. And I suspended that search again. And it was like 3 weeks after that is when the water went down, and the property owner said that the water had went down like 1 week prior. We made the very best decision we could have made. We could have done nothing except destroy that body, destroy evidence. And so they want they want the names of 4,000 plus searchers that were on that search. What do they want the names for? There was 32 people that we've given the names to the defense. Brad Conway, the Anthony's attorney, went to Martin James's office. We've got 3 boxes full of stuff with every one of our records, with our maps, with the areas that we searched, the areas we completed, and every searcher on our volunteer form, it's got the names of the volunteer, it's got their home address, it's got their driver's license number. It is not fair to 4,000 people to even take a chance to have some attorney have their name and all their personal information. There's going to be another Caylee Anthony search. How many volunteers are going to show up if they're afraid that their information is going to be made public? This can not only jeopardize our volunteers with EquiSearch. I don't care if you're the United Way or what volunteer organization you are. This is sending a terrible message. Who would want to volunteer when they're afraid their information is going to be given to some defense attorney that's a nobody?
What do they want to glean from that information?
What do they want to do? They probably want to run names and stuff and see if somebody may have a misdemeanor or even a felony out there or what, and say that they weren't credible. Nobody. Houdini could not have found Caylee Anthony's body. Everybody did the best that they could do. We spent $108,000 and we're not done. The only thing this case has done is taken away from other families that really need us, that we've had to say no to because we used up all our money and all our resources on this one case. And again, I was there 10 minutes when the family 100% lied to me. I wanted to leave that moment. And the only reason I didn't leave is because it was about Caylee, not this family. This family still causes many problems today as they did the day she disappeared.
Again, though, what could the defense attorney have seen that would...
The defense attorneys had every opportunity. He went to my attorney's office where all the boxes of our records are. He was there for 2 hours and he left. Our records have been in Florida for nearly 2 years, at least 1.5 years, right across the street basically from the courthouse. Jose Baez had every opportunity in the world and still has that opportunity to go look through our records. If he sees anything besides the 32 people that were in that general area, all he has to do is tag that. And then when he gets done tagging other things he's interested in, they'll take it to the judge, and the judge will determine whether it's relevant to the case or not. Why are they making a big deal out of it? You know, for the second attorney for the Anthonys to go ahead and resign from the case, it should be telling the American public something.
And what is that?
What is that? This family has done nothing but lie from the very beginning.
So you think the attorney took himself off the case not because of something he actually saw, but just because he wanted to wash his hands of it?
He wanted to wash his hands of it. He wanted to wash his hands and say, you know what, I'm done. I can't deal with you people anymore. When I told Cindy Anthony, I said, listen, you're not going to like this. You want me to find a live Caylee. I said, I'll do everything I can do. I said, we got members all across the nation. And I says, every time a phone call comes in, you let me know what city it's coming in from, and we'll get in our database. And in that city, if we got members 100 miles from there, we'll go ahead and have them download flyers, get them in that city, start getting them posted. And I says, but we're also going to start doing a search and eliminating areas, just in case something else has happened. I said, I had a map of Orlando, And George Anthony came over there, and I said, George, where should we start? George Anthony got Casey Anthony out of her bedroom, brought Casey over there and said, and grabbed a pen like this, and he said, Casey, where should they start? Casey got upset, went back to her room. Cindy Anthony told me, if you're not going to find a live Kaylee, get out of my house. George Anthony wanted Casey to draw a spot on the map for us to go ahead and find her daughter.
She said no, basically.
She got upset and went back to her room, act like an idiot that she is.
So I take it you have quite a bit of animosity toward this family.
Do you know what? I can sympathize with them to a certain extent. They didn't choose this, but they're choosing their own grief right now.
So do you think your organization should have anything to do with this at this point?
I think our organization should allow the defense to see and interview the 32 people that were in the general area. We've got it all mapped out. We've got all our records are 100% right. They've had that opportunity. We provided them with them names. Why don't they get them in for depositions? Let them say how high the water was, or if it was dry, let them say that. Whatever they need to say. But you know what? Go talk to these 32 people. It's not fair to 4,000 other people for their names to be given to a defense attorney that God only knows what could happen with their names. I would not volunteer again if I thought that all my information going to be made public if I was just a volunteer. I mean, I'm Director of Equisearch. All my information's out there anyway, so I don't really care. But you know what? These people, they take off work, they spend their money for gas. We had people come from, I think it was 14 different states to look for Kaylee Anthony. They spent their own money on for their gas. They bought their own food. They paid for their own motel rooms. They came down there because they had big hearts and they wanted to find this little girl. They didn't come down there because they want some defense attorney to have all their personal information, whether their name, their address, their driver's license number, their height, their weight, their vehicle description, their license plate number on their vehicle. They didn't come for that. They came to find this little girl. And you know what? It's a shame that every time we watch the news anymore, everything that's happening in Florida with this case is not about Kaylee. It's about the Anthonys. It's about the grandparents. You know what? Don't nobody represent them anymore. Let's focus back on what really happened to Kaylee, and let's let the defense go ahead and defend. Let's let the prosecutors go ahead and put their evidence up there. And at the end of the trial, that's what it is. Why this big circus before? And that's all it is, a circus.
Do you think that's the only reason people are even bringing up Equisearch, the defense, just to create?
It's a circus. It's a show. You know what? It's to distract everybody what it's really about. You know, I have no problem going through our records. You know, one of the records we don't have, it's still at my office, the only box I still have here, which I wish the defense would see, is receipts for $108,000 plus. They're not interested in that. Go ahead and see what we put into it. See how many tears were cried over this girl.
Any questions, Shan? Anything we may have missed that you want to
I don't think you missed anything. I'm sick of this whole damn case.
Did you ask that question? What's the next step then for Equisearch?
Yeah, what is the...
So now what's the next?
Well, you know what? There's been some people out of the 32, I think there's been 3 or 4 maybe, that were called by the investigator, asked to give depositions. You know, how come the defense hasn't brought me in for a deposition?
Why do you think they haven't?
They're avoiding me. They know our records are right. They're not going to like what I've got to say. They're not going to like that George Anthony's best friend said the answer's in the bedroom when I was there 10 minutes. They're not going to like the fact that George Anthony brought his daughter in and said, Casey, make a spot on the map. Tell them where to go. The defense isn't going to like that. Why in the hell should they?
Hurts their case, right?
That hurts our case.
Will the prosecution bring you in?
They may. They've got all our records. They've got everything that Bias has.
Would they ask you to testify at the trial?
I'm going to have to testify at trial. It's not if I have to, it's when I have to. No, I will be testifying at a murder trial